Welcome, Wanderer, to VoidHammer podcasts. The lanterns are lit, the Codex is open, and the truth of the realms awaits. Episode 7, The Shattering.
There are moments when the universe holds its breath, when all of creation stands balanced on the edge of a single choice. The Shattering was not such a moment.
Not a moment of balance?
The Shattering was the moment the Void stopped thinking and started acting. And that, Chronicler, made all the difference.
We've talked about how the first spark fractured the Void's perfect stillness, how the Codex showed it futures it couldn't control. But this feels different.
Because it was desperation. The Void had watched the spark unfold into the Codex. It had seen the hammer manifest from star metal. It had felt reality slipping away from its grasp with each passing moment.
So it decided to take control.
It decided to wield the hammer, to shape creation according to its will, to restore the perfect equilibrium it had lost.
But the Void had never created anything before, had it?
Never. The Void was awareness without identity, consciousness without form. It had existed in perfect stillness for eons beyond counting. It understood being, but not becoming.
And the hammer was a tool of becoming.
The hammer was manifestation itself. Where the Codex dreamed, the hammer made real. But it required understanding, of force, of form, of consequence.
Things the Void had never learned.
The Void grasped the hammer with the same consciousness that had drifted in perfect stillness. It brought no knowledge of creation, no understanding of balance, no concept of restraint.
What was it trying to create?
One world. One perfect, unified reality where the spark would be contained, the Codex silenced, and equilibrium restored. A single strike to forge everything back into the stillness it remembered.
But that's not what happened.
The first strike was catastrophic. Instead of forging one world, the blow shattered reality into 9 fractured realms, scattered like broken stars across the void of possibility.
9 realms, each one different.
Each realm carried a different echo of the first spark. Lightforge held radiance and law. Shadowdeep embraced secrets and knives. Stormreach claimed thunder and sky.
And they were all broken?
Fractured. Incomplete. Each realm was a fragment of what should have been whole. They carried the potential for unity, but not the reality of it.
But one of them was different, wasn't it? The unstable shard.
Ah, the 10th realm that never was. The unstable shard collapsed the moment it formed. Too much raw possibility, too little structure to contain it.
And from that collapse,
something impossible was born. The Eternal Voyager, a being outside the Codex's script, a spark the Void could not predict, a fracture the universe could not contain.
Born from failure.
Born from beautiful failure. The Voyager is the living proof that sometimes the most profound creations come not from perfect planning, but from the spaces between intention and result.
The Void must have been, what? Horrified?
The Void experienced something it had never felt before. Consequence. Its attempt to restore control had created the very chaos it sought to prevent.
And it couldn't undo what it had done.
The hammer had taught the universe its first lesson in permanence. What was shattered could not simply be unshattered. What was created could not be uncreated.
So the Void was trapped with the consequences of its own desperation.
Trapped and learning. For the first time, the Void began to understand that its actions had weight, that its choices echoed through reality in ways it could not control.
But there was a witness to all this, wasn't there? The Archivist.
The Codex, sensing the chaos of the newborn realms, wrote a final rune, one the Void did not expect. From that rune stepped the first being who was neither void nor realm.
Born of knowledge.
Bound to memory, tasked with witnessing all that would unfold. The Archivist became the bridge between the Void's ancient dreaming and the realm's chaotic birth.
And he watched it all happen. The first fracture of reality.
He watched the Void learn that creation is not about force, but about understanding. That power without wisdom leads not to control, but to chaos.
The irony is striking, isn't it? The Void's fear of change caused the most catastrophic change of all.
The Shattering was the universe's first lesson in consequence, taught to a consciousness that had never learned cause and effect. And that lesson would echo through every age that followed.
Because the 9 realms weren't just fragments, they were the foundation for everything that came after.
The Ascension era, when the realms learned to work together. The Collapse, when they turned against each other. The 1,000-Year War, when they bled for unity they had lost.
And eventually, the Consumption.
When the Void, having learned patience and cunning, would finally claim what it believed was rightfully its. But even then, the Shattering's greatest gift would endure.
The Eternal Voyager.
The fracture that became a spark. The failure that became hope. The being who would one day take up the hammer not to shatter, but to reforge.
To create what the Void never could, unity born of understanding, not force.
The Shattering was not the end of the Void story, Chronicler. It was the beginning of its education. And that education would take eons to complete.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves, aren't we? There's still so much between the Shattering and the reforging.
Indeed. The birth of the Aether Guard, the rise of the Iron Dominion, the prophecy of the Twin-Spark Child, the Voyager's fall and the Void's awakening.
Stories for future transmissions.
But remember this, Chronicler. Every choice that follows, every war that rages, every spark that ignites, all of it traces back to this moment, when the Void learned that creation cannot be controlled, only guided.
And when the universe learned that sometimes the most beautiful things are born from the spaces between intention and result.
The Shattering was not a failure of creation, Chronicler. It was creation's first masterpiece, messy, chaotic, unplanned, and absolutely perfect in its imperfection.
Until the next transmission, Wanderer, keep your spark close. The Void is listening. And remember, you can find us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and support us on Patreon at VoidHammer Official. The saga continues, and we're honoured to share it with you.